Welcome back, truth seekers and curious minds. I'm Jill, and with me today, as always, is the endlessly questioning yet sometimes stubbornly accepting Jack.
That's me. And I'm Jack, ready to, well, not necessarily prove anything today, but certainly explore a very intriguing idea. Jill, what's got your gears turning this week?
All right, Jack, so I've been pondering this concept, this profound yet also incredibly simple notion. The truth doesn't need proof, it just is.
Oh, that's a bold statement right out of the gate. The truth doesn't need proof. I mean, my entire high school geometry class begs to differ. We spent months proving things about triangles.
Haha, excellent point, and we'll definitely circle back to that distinction. But think about it, Jack. Some things, when you strip away all the layers, are inherently, self-evidently true, like the sky is blue, or you exist.
Okay, the sky is blue most of the time. Sometimes it's gray or pink at sunset. Are those truths also unprovable, or do they just present themselves?
Exactly. They present themselves. It's a direct observation. You don't need a scientific paper to confirm the sky is blue right now. You just look up. The truth of its color at that moment is self-evident.
So, we're talking about things that are undeniable, right? Things that, no matter how much you try to argue against them, just persist in their fundamental reality.
Precisely. And it's funny because we, as humans, often get caught in this trap of feeling like we have to constantly prove things. Even when they're staring us in the face, we complicate the obvious.
Oh, absolutely. I remember once trying to convince my nephew that the sun was a star. He was 6, and he just kept saying, "No, it's the sun," and no amount of stellar classification charts was going to sway him in that moment.
That's a perfect example. For him, in his lived experience, it was the sun. The truth of his experience was that it was the sun. The scientific classification, while objectively true, wasn't relevant to his immediate understanding. He didn't need to prove it was the sun to him.
Right, and I was the one trying to force a proof on him that he wasn't ready for, or that didn't align with his current perception. It made me sound like the crazy one, honestly.
And that's where the humor often comes in, isn't it? When we try to logically dissect and prove something that's already accepted or simply felt, like trying to prove that love is real to someone who's deeply in love.
Oh man, you'd sound like a supervillain trying to do that. Your emotions are merely a complex cocktail of neurochemicals designed for propagation. She'd just look at you like, "Are you okay?"
Exactly. The truth of her experience of love doesn't need external validation or scientific proof. It's an internal reality, and trying to prove it or disprove it with a logical argument just misses the point entirely.
So, what about those geometry proofs? My teacher would be furious if I told him the truth of triangles doesn't need proof, it just is.
That's a fantastic point for clarification. See, in mathematics and science, proof is about establishing logical consistency within a defined system. You're proving something within a framework, following specific rules and axioms.
Ah, so the axioms themselves, the starting points, are the truths that are accepted without proof in that system.
You got it. Those basic assumptions, like a point has no dimension or a straight line extends infinitely, those are foundational. They are the truths upon which the entire edifice of geometric proof is built. They're accepted as given.
Okay, that makes sense. So, we're talking about a level of truth that is even more fundamental than what you prove in a classroom. It's the bedrock, the duh moments of existence.
The duh moments. I love that, Jack. It's the intuitive understanding, the direct knowing. Think about honesty, for instance. When someone is genuinely honest with you, you often feel it. You don't need a polygraph test to confirm the sincerity.
That's so true. There's a certain resonance to sincerity. Or when someone's being dishonest, you just get that weird gut feeling, that little twitch in your spider sense. You can't prove it, but you know it.
And that knowing is powerful. It's a form of truth that bypasses the rational, linear mind. It's an intuitive truth. This ties into things like personal values too, doesn't it?
Like, if I believe treating people with kindness is inherently good, I don't need a philosophical treatise to prove it. It's just part of my core truth, and someone else might have a different core truth, which is also valid for them.
Exactly. This is where it gets inspirational, actually. Because if we accept that some truths are self-evident, it frees us from the exhausting burden of constantly having to defend or rationalize our core beliefs and experiences.
Whoa, that's a big one. So much conflict, online and offline, comes from people desperately trying to prove their subjective truths to others who just aren't wired to receive them.
Think about it. How much energy do we expend trying to convince someone that our feelings are valid, or that our experience of an event was real, when to us it's just simply true?
Oh, that's a painful one. Trying to prove your feelings. No, I am hurt. See, here's my diagram of the hurtful words and the resulting emotional trajectory. It just makes it worse.
Right? The truth of your emotional state doesn't need external proof. It's an internal reality. And sometimes, the most empowering thing we can do is just state our truth without feeling the need to back it up with 1,000 arguments.
So, it's less about proving and more about stating and owning your truth. That's actually incredibly liberating. It's like saying, this is my reality, and I don't need your permission or validation for it to be real.
Precisely. And this applies to much bigger things too, like your purpose in life. You can't prove your purpose to someone. It's a deeply personal, internal truth that you feel, that guides you.
Yeah, I can just imagine trying to prove to my family why I chose this slightly unconventional career path. Well, statistically speaking, my happiness quotient is higher, and the societal impact score is up by 3.7 points. They'd still just want to know if I'm eating enough.
Haha, exactly. The truth of your fulfillment doesn't need their external proof. It's evident in your actions, your joy, your sense of purpose. And sometimes, you just have to trust that your living of that truth is the only proof needed.
So how do we distinguish between these unprovable truths and things that do require evidence or scrutiny? Because we don't want to just start believing everything without questioning, right?
That's a critical distinction. The truths we're talking about are often experiential, intuitive, or foundational axioms. Things like, I am here, I feel happy, I prefer chocolate over vanilla. Those are self-evident to the experiencer.
Okay, so personal internal realities and basic undeniable observations. Not like, there's a dinosaur in my backyard without checking.
Exactly. If you claim there's a dinosaur in your backyard, you absolutely need proof. Unless, of course, the dinosaur is a miniature plastic toy, then for you, its presence is self-evident.
Good point. Context matters. So, for things outside of our immediate, undeniable experience, things that make claims about the external world or complex systems, we still need evidence, logic, and critical thinking.
Absolutely. This isn't an excuse for intellectual laziness or to abandon critical thought. It's about recognizing the different levels of truth. Some things are objectively provable through scientific method, historical evidence, or logical deduction.
And then there are these other truths, the duh truths, the intuitive truths, the personal truths that don't fit into a beaker or a mathematical equation.
Exactly. And often, it's those unprovable truths that are the most fundamental to our well-being and sense of self. Your worth, for instance. Can you prove your worth to someone, or to yourself?
No, you just feel it or you don't. And if you don't, it's not because you lack proof, but because something else is clouding that inherent truth.
Precisely. The truth of your inherent worth doesn't need external validation. It's an assumed baseline, an axiom of your existence. And when we try to prove it, we often look for external achievements or other people's approval, which is a never-ending cycle.
That's a really powerful thought. So much of our anxiety comes from feeling like we constantly have to justify our existence, our choices, our feelings. But what if we just didn't?
What if we just stopped? What if we acknowledged the self-evident truths of our lives and let them stand? Think of the mental real estate we'd free up.
My brain would feel like a freshly decluttered closet. No more trying to find receipts from 2005 to prove a point in an argument I had yesterday.
Right? Imagine the peace. It's about learning to trust your inner compass on these fundamental truths. It doesn't mean you ignore facts or logic, but it means you recognize when a fact is being weaponized against an inherent, unprovable truth.
So, practically speaking, if someone comes at me trying to prove why my passion project is silly, I can just internally nod and say, nope, my joy in this doesn't need your approval, buddy.
Exactly. The truth of your passion, the fulfillment it brings you, is an internal, unprovable truth for you. You don't need to logically dismantle their arguments, you just live your truth.
This really shifts the dynamic in arguments, too. If you're not trying to win by proving something undeniable to yourself, you can approach disagreements with a lot more calm.
It does. It allows you to say, okay, that's your perspective and I respect that. My experience is different, without feeling like you have to justify, validate, or convert them to your truth.
So, we're talking about a kind of radical self-acceptance, mixed with a healthy dose of discernment for when proof is necessary. It's a nuanced dance.
It's absolutely a dance. but one that, once mastered, brings immense peace and clarity, because when you stop trying to prove the sun is bright, you just enjoy its warmth.
That's beautiful, Jill. The truth doesn't need proof, it just needs to be experienced and recognized. I like that a lot.
It really simplifies things, and in a world that constantly demands evidence for everything, sometimes the most rebellious and empowering act is to simply stand in your truth, unproven and unapologetic.
I think I'm going to start a new movement, the Unprovable Truth Society. Our motto, it just is. Our uniform, whatever feels right.
I'm in, Jack. What a fantastic way to live. So, to all our listeners out there, consider what truths in your life simply are, what doesn't need proof, and what freedom can you find in letting those truths stand on their own.
It's a liberating exercise, honestly, and it might just make you smile, knowing you don't have to carry the burden of endless justification. Thanks for another insightful one, Jill.
Always a pleasure, Jack. And thank you all for joining us on this journey into the unprovable. Until next time, stay true to yourselves, because that truth, my friends, needs no proof.
See ya.